A very good morning to all of you. I'm quite delighted and excited to be here to address and speak on a very interesting topic on learning reimagined AI as a catalyst. At the outset, we all know that the world around us has changed everything. I mean, while the time that we were in the school, yeah. So while the time that we were in the school, there was nothing that is there today exists. Whether it's iPhone, iPad, AI, Google, Amazon, Flipkart, you think of the technologies and it was not existing in the schools. Unfortunately, what we see very little changing in the schools itself. Now, my context and reference to the schools is not the progressive schools, but those schools which are largely still underdeveloped. Just to get a context, we're talking about out of 15 lakh schools, there are only about 35 to 36,000 CBSE affiliated schools, just about 2,000 or 3,000 ICC affiliated schools, and 1,500 international board schools, right? So we're really talking about almost 99% of the schools which are affiliated to the state board, including the government and the private schools, which do not have access to the technologies and the resources that some of the progressive private schools still have. So what is unchanged in the school perspective is one pace, one pathway, one outcome for every learner. The goal is not to clear 21K. In fact, I was quite amused and surprised when I read the recent CBSE circular which says that skill education is mandatory now from grade 6 to 12 onwards. I thought it was always mandatory, right from the pre-years all the way to the school, college, and education, right? It's not something new, and it's very surprised that a board has to issue a directive and circular to mandate skill education. And what also surprises me in the education system is that in the early years, in the pre-primary years, we have so much of skill development. Gross motor skills, fine motor skills, learning by the senses, sensory learning, all those aspects. What happens from grade 1? Why do we transform and leave all those education block is surprise. I mean, just think of a child who is there in the education school, he's enjoying his K-12, suddenly he's pushed to grade 1 where everything changes around him. And you expect him to perform, right? And that's the world that we would like to actually change and think of it. What learners need today is personalization, flexibility, and acceleration. Personalization with or without technology is still possible, and many of the schools are already doing it. Flexibility is about just giving more choice and voice to the learners, more agency to the learners. Acceleration is about deeper learning, not just double promotion, but how quickly can you master the concepts and move between the grades and the concepts level. I don't know who decided that every child based on the age has to be bracketed into particular grade levels, but that is not required in today's age at all. So AI enables a new contract for learning. It's a technology that is definitely disruptive, but what is more disruptive is the mindsets have to melt. As educators, we have to embrace technology rather than try to fight against it. AI amplifies good systems. It does not repair a poor system. We should understand the fact that AI is here to help us. It's not here to. But if a system itself in a school is not very helpful, it's not going to change anything. For example, if you don't allow digital tools and devices inside the classroom, or if you look down upon a learner who uses a lot of technology and AI, it's not going to be helpful. I think what really matters is that as educators, we need to change the mind. The adoption requires thoughtful leadership, planning, and technology must serve the learning. It can't be the otherwise round. AI is a catalyst, not a magic wand. What AI can enable and what AI cannot enable, I think is an important aspect for us to understand. AI can definitely enable micro-personalization, flexibility, acceleration, adaptive pathways, can reduce a lot of clerical work inside the school, which a teacher does, and increase the time for the teachers to engage with the students, both emotionally and otherwise. So AI definitely cannot replace human connection, whether it's the learning. I'll give you a very personal anecdote. I mean, I run an online school, and my son is part of 21K school from last 6 years, and I have a AI tutor for him after the school hours, right? And I've seen him that he gets enough worksheets and assignments every time, and the AI prompts him saying that great work, Hriday, excellent Hriday, and so on. He's never come and told me and expressed joy about it. But recently, when his teacher in the 21K school appreciated and gave him 5 stars, he was so excited, delighted. That day, he came in the evening and told me that today my teacher appreciated my work. I think this should be an enough clue for us to understand what AI can do and what AI cannot do. AI cannot engage a human being. Even all the models of the current AI schooling is more about 1:1. Ask an AI to teach a group of 20 students or 24 students or 30 students in the classroom, and let's see who wins. I'm sure the teachers are going to do hands on much better than any AI today. So AI could be a good tutor, it can't be a teacher. Learning is human, not just digital. I think this is a very important perspective. All of you would have read enough around the learning sciences, right from Mr. John Dewey to all the latest researchers. It is very clear that learning is social, requires meaning making, depends on motivation. Learning thrives on feedback with trust, not just feedback. Learning is not linear, and AI can accelerate learning, but it can't give any change in terms of the learning or the child who's not really equipped to learning. I think this, going back to the basics of the learning science, will tell us that why AI cannot be a great tool inside the classroom. It can amplify whatever the teacher does inside and outside the classroom, but it definitely can't replace. A simple table, my apologies, I think the fonts have changed on the deck, but if this is readable, I think the fourth point is not visible on the screen. Social nature of learning. I think if you just look at some of the variables of the learning and see how AI complements into everyday practices what you do, I think that is going to be absolutely essential for us to understand. A simple thing like meaning making, right? While a child can explain the concept, like I think many times before I know about a child from one of the schools that we have set up in the past, where I asked a child can you catch and hold and lift the elephant? He said yes, because he's already seen it on the screens on his TV and in the classroom, right? He's never seen an elephant in the real space. So his imagination of the child is itna sa hoga. That's what he said. And that's the harm, right? I mean, while the teacher can give the context and meaning to what exactly is the elephant, what is the size and other things, not necessarily that AI cannot do that, but AI can create a lot of meaning and context to the entire thing that we do it. So when you talk about social nature of learning, meaning making, motivation, purpose, and the other aspects of the learning, emotional factoring in learning, AI can do a lot of these things. I mean, that's where we need to open up our eyes and use at adopting technology. I was talking to someone else that when tabs came in, when ball pens came in, or when even the black slates came in, they were all new technologies. They were resistance to those technologies. I remember my father used to snub me that why have you started writing with ball pen, right? I mean, because that was a new technology which none of us really wanted to adopt at that point of time into the school systems. There was a huge debate whether the child should start learning to write with ball pen in grade 4, 5, or 6, or whatever grades, right? It's a similar case with the technology. It's not something which is new. It's not going to be any different. So definitely, AI will not replace teachers, but teachers who do not use AI will be left behind. I think there's already a huge divide between haves and have-nots, but AI is one such technology that can bridge all the divides that we have between a rural teacher and a urban teacher, from a state board school or from an international school. If it is meaningfully used and adopted inside the classrooms, it is a great leveler as well. So teachers must shift the content from content delivery to learning design. They have to focus on what is being learned rather than what is being taught. I'll just share another anecdote. When I did my MBA in education management in UK, my Professor John Taylor had invited me home, and he said, "Yeshwanth, come home. I'll show you that I have taught my dog to speak in English." I said, "Wow, that's amazing. I've never heard of this soccery before, but Professor hota hai, so you can't argue with him. I was more excited as a student to have a cup of coffee in those days. So I went to his home and I realized that the dog was not speaking at all. You know, he said this, barked, and then it went off. And then what John Taylor told me has stayed with me till Yeshwanth, teaching is not learning. I taught the dog, he did not learn. And this is so much important for me today that what you teach inside the classroom is not important. How the child has learned and understood the concept, that's going to be critical. So if you just think of it, I mean, this is what we've been doing at 21K School, our success model for the learner, where we use technology, pedagogy, human connections, leveraging personalized, flexible, and accelerated learning seamlessly to deliver great learning outcomes for our learners across 78 countries. What schools may imagine and do it is begin small, scale with evidence. Three principles that I would encourage you to adopt is start with pedagogy, not at tools. Don't look at AI as a tool. Don't look at any technology. Reimagine your pedagogy and see how you could deliver and design the entire learning experience much better. Empower teachers before deploying technology with digital tools, technology, training, adoption, trust, and believe that the child is not wasting the time inside the classroom while experimenting some of these tools. Pilot, measure, iterate, and scale. Do it slowly, do it strongly, but definitely do it. I would really call you to reimagine the systems, equip teachers with AI powered capabilities, and think again about the child using digital device. You can't implement any technology without the child not having access to the technology, whether it's in the school or outside the school. The future of learner centered schooling is human. Let's understand this clearly. But AI can accelerate that journey and make the adoption much faster. Thank you so much. I do publish a newsletter. If those who want to connect to me on LinkedIn, please do scan the QR code, and also you can subscribe to my newsletter as well. I'll be more than happy to connect and talk to you on this topic. As I'm here, I think I'll be here till about 3 p.m. So happy to discuss on one-to-one and ask any question. I don't think we have time for questions. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yashwanth sir. Thank you.